The news broke on a Tuesday morning and spread like wildfire. The headline, Harvard linguist questions Filipino English, a dialect of imitation, not mastery. For millions of Filipinos, it felt like a direct attack on their identity. Dr. Alistair Finch, a renowned Harvard linguist, was quoted dismissing Filipino English as lacking authenticity and cultural roots. He called it a service language, not a legitimate variety. The backlash was immediate. Anger and hurt flooded online forums. Filipino academics and teachers felt betrayed after years spent proving the richness of their language. The story was about more than language. It was about respect and dignity. The Philippines, one of the largest English-speaking nations, saw its English called an imitation, a painful blow. The world watched as a simmering debate boiled over. Every Filipino who'd ever been complimented on their English, only to feel it was a backhanded remark, felt the sting. Overseas workers felt their skills devalued. Dr. Finch's comments drew a line. On one side, a powerful academic. On the other, a proud nation ready to defend its voice. This was more than an academic argument. It was personal. The professor's words had ignited a global conversation. A nation stood united, determined to tell its own story. Dr. Finch lived in a world of books and theories, surrounded by academic certainty. He believed English had a center, UK and US, and saw Filipino English as a distant, inauthentic branch. His research labeled Filipino English's unique features as errors, not innovations. He'd never visited the Philippines, relying on data and Western scholarship. To him, Filipino English was a caricature, not a living language. After the backlash, Dr. Finch was invited to speak at a Manila conference. He accepted, confident he could explain his logic and be understood. He packed his bags, certain he was going to teach. But Manila would challenge everything he thought he knew. The journey would force him to confront the limits of his theories. He was about to learn that language is more than rules. It's lived experience. The real lesson was waiting for him in the Philippines. Dr. Finch landed in Manila, greeted by the city's vibrant chaos. The air was thick with street food and the hum of life. His taxi driver, Mang Lito, welcomed him warmly, sharing stories in English mixed with Tagalog. Mang Lito spoke with pride about his daughter's dreams and her class English. At the hotel, the receptionist's English was polished and professional. Later, a cafe waitress described local coffee with infectious passion. It is strong, like the Filipino spirit. Dr. Finch noticed their English wasn't just functional, it was expressive, alive. Each encounter challenged his assumptions. The language he heard was not just for service, it was a vehicle for personality and pride. That night, alone in his hotel room, he felt uneasy. The people he'd met didn't fit his theories. Their English was complex and beautiful, not an imitation. For the first time, doubt crept into his academic certainty. Manila was already teaching him. The city's voice was impossible to ignore. He realized he'd underestimated what language could mean. The lesson had only just begun. The next morning, Dr. Finch explored Manila on foot. In a bustling market, vendors called out in simple, direct English, connecting, not impressing. He bought a mango, then watched children play, switching effortlessly between Tagalog and English. Their language was fluid, inventive, a living blend, not imitation. Later, in a quiet church, he overheard a young woman praying in heartfelt English for her brother abroad. The English he heard was woven into daily life, selling, playing, praying. It was not the language of call centers, but of the soul. His theories felt cold and inadequate. Manila was teaching him that language belongs to its people. He saw English as a living, evolving part of Filipino identity. The city's lesson was clear. Mastery is about meaning, not mimicry. Dr. Finch's certainty was crumbling. He was beginning to listen. Dr. Finch spent days exploring, his old certainties dissolving. At a university, he watched students discuss English literature through a Filipino lens, drawing powerful parallels to their own lives. He saw English everywhere, on billboards, in music, in newspapers, blended with Tagalog, uniquely Filipino. His research now felt arrogant and hollow. At dinner with local professors, Dr. Reyes told him, "Our language is more than research, it's our story." Her words struck him deeply. He realized he couldn't call their English an imitation. The city's voice was changing him. He was no longer sure of anything except that he had much to learn. The conference hall was packed, anticipation thick in the air. Dr. Finch stood at the podium, prepared speech in hand, but he set it aside. "Good morning," he began. "I came here to teach, but I have been your student." He shared stories of Manglito, the market, the church, and the university. During Q&A, a student challenged him. "Is mastery about sounding like you or expressing our reality? We made English our own. Isn't that mastery?" The hall erupted in applause. The student's question was simple, direct, and true. Dr. Finch saw the pride and intelligence in her eyes. He realized he'd missed the spirit of the language. He judged the canvas, not the masterpiece. The moment demanded honesty. He was ready to respond, not as an expert, but as a learner. The city had changed him. The real test was now. Would he admit he was wrong? Dr. Finch stood silent, then spoke with sincerity. "Thank you. You are absolutely right. My definition of mastery was wrong, narrow, academic, arrogant." He admitted language is not a museum piece, but a living thing. Here in the Philippines, English is more alive than almost anywhere else. You have not imitated English. You have enriched it. You have given it a new soul. He confessed he'd learned more from Manila than he'd ever taught. Mastery isn't about accent, it's about voice. And the Filipino voice is strong and beautiful. He publicly retracted his previous statements. Filipino English is not a deviation. It is a legitimate, vibrant world English. I was wrong, and I am sorry. The hall erupted in a standing ovation, not of victory, but of respect and understanding. A bridge was built between professor and nation. The apology was simple, direct, and heartfelt. The controversy had become a moment of connection. Dr. Finch was no longer a distant academic. He was a man changed by humility. The nation's story had been heard, and the world was listening. Back at Harvard, Dr. Finch addressed colleagues and students. He began with stories from Manila, Manglito, the children, the student who challenged him. "For too long, we in the West have acted as gatekeepers of English," he said. "That view is outdated. The future of English is in places like Manila." He called for a new way of thinking. Linguistics should celebrate evolution, not enforce static rules. He announced plans to champion world Englishes and proposed an exchange program with Philippine universities. "We must learn from people, not just books." The global media picked up the story. Dr. Finch, once a symbol of elitism, became a champion for linguistic diversity. His journey sparked a global conversation about language and identity. Even the most established minds can learn and grow. True wisdom is being willing to be proven wrong. The world was watching and learning. In the Philippines, Dr. Finch's reversal brought quiet pride, not celebration. Teachers shared the story, voices filled with new confidence. Our English is not wrong, it is ours. Students felt permission to speak with their own accent and rhythm. In call centers and coffee shops, people stood a little taller. The feeling was not victory, but being seen and understood. The nation's dignity was healing. Overseas, Filipinos felt affirmed. Their English was a strength, not a weakness. Their language was a bridge, and they were its architects. A hurtful headline had become a story of confidence. Language belongs to its speakers, not its scholars. The nation's spirit was set free.